With a little over 6 months left before the presidential elections in Russia, the Kremlin was puzzled by the search for suitable sparring partners who would have to create the appearance of competition with Vladimir Putin and, of course, lose to him.
It is clear that these are never elections. This is some sort of confirmation of the mandate of people's trust in President Putin, and this is how it should be perceived. And based on this, accordingly, everything else will be a list of all the candidates. In fact, how many of these other candidates are needed will in further down the list.
At the moment, the Putin administration is putting representatives of 3 pro-government parliamentary parties into the presidential elections: the Communist Party, the Liberal Democratic Party, and the New People. All of them are pocket and loyal to the regime. The Kremlin sees Gennady Zyuganov as the communist candidate. Leonid Slutsky is nominated for the elections from the Liberal Democratic Party. Both are suitable for the role of pseudo-competitors, and according to Medusa, citing sources in the Kremlin, they have already given their consent to it. Slutsky himself wants to take part in the elections because he loves PR. He fits quite well. A serious man with a position, in a jacket. No one will say that this is a pure spoiler, but Slutsky's personal rating is low, and he himself, as a public politician, is so-so. From a publication by Medusa with reference to sources close to the Russian presidential administration. But it is more difficult with the candidate from the New People. The Kremlin would like to see its chairman, businessman Alexei Nechayev, nominated from the party. He fits the same characteristics as Slutsky: a business-like appearance, a high position, lack of charisma, and a low rating, so as not to threaten Putin. However, this plan has not yet been agreed upon with Nechayev himself. Instead, he proposes 39-year-old State Duma deputy Speaker Vladislav Davankov. However, the Kremlin is not satisfied with this figure. He is too young. Candidates should not be under 50, so that Putin, who is already 70, does not seem like an old man to voters. This is the main criterion. After all, according to a Russian field survey conducted in May of this year, age is the 3rd most popular answer to the question of what Russians don't like about the current president. He's especially afraid of being more pitiful than those around him. That's why you will never see charismatics around him. You will never see tall people. You will never see just good-looking people, because, well, he has to look good compared to others. For a creature like Vladimir Putin to look advantageous compared with someone else, it is necessary for everyone to be completely insignificant. The Kremlin considers predictability to be another important criterion for Putin's rivals in the 2024 elections. There should be no dark horses or unexpected incidents. It is assumed that the current Russian president will win with a record result of more than 80% of the vote, with a turnout of more than 70%, Medusa writes. Therefore, even a dummy candidate with rhetoric that is even slightly different from the official one will not be in the elections, analysts say.
Now, there is absolutely no need for such a candidate. On the contrary, such a candidate is dangerous. What if those people who oppose the war come out of desperation and vote for such a candidate? Therefore, they need all those candidates who clearly support the party line for the war with Ukraine in varying degrees of that patriotism, but they should all be more or less the same in this sense.
If the result of the future vote is known, there is no intrigue and the winner is determined in advance. Then why does Putin need to create the appearance of elections? Political experts believe that the Kremlin dictator thus wants to formally comply with the democratic procedure in order to legitimize himself in the eyes of the world community. In addition, it is important for Putin to demonstrate support for his policies among Russians and to be satisfied with the results, albeit falsified ones. Plus, I would not deny, after in principle what we saw, after the mess that we saw in the head of Vladimir Putin over the past 2 years, I would not deny that he is one of those dictators who are so severely divorced from reality that they receive some form of perverted satisfaction from the fact that either for his party or him personally some percentage of support is drawn. And he sits like Ceausescu, and he has these 98%, but a week later Ceausescu was shot. The only event that could create intrigue in next year's Russian presidential elections is the unexpected death or assassination of Putin, experts say. This could mix up all the cards for the Kremlin. After all, the degradation of state institutions under Putin, the construction of a rigid vertical focused on the Russian president, as well as many years of negative selection in his circle, will create a complete vacuum in power after his death, which will subsequently cause serious political instability in the Russian Federation. Reported by Vasil Panasyuk, UATV News.